Hello everyone, my name is Fikaya Balogun, the head chef and owner of Spoonish YYC, a private chef and meal servicing company based in and servicing the Calgary area in Alberta, Canada. Our specialties are roasts and grills, grilled tilapia fish, grilled catfish, roast chicken and turkey wings, spicy roast goat and beef. These go with popular sides like yam fries, potato wedges, fried plantains, and the famous Nigerian jollof rice. We also prepare other popular Nigerian dishes. Whenever you want delicious tasting finger-licking roasts and grills, Spoonish YYC is your plug. We're open every Wednesday to Saturday. We take orders, for now, via phone call, text messaging, and Instagram DMs on @Spoonish YYC. We're located in the southwest quadrant of Calgary for order pickups, and we also offer delivery services all over Calgary and Erdre. You can also find us on Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats, and Ritual Ordering app. We look forward to taking your orders and making you our loyal customers. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dotun Ayodele of AfricaX. I'm here this evening to present you with another episode of our interesting show, Immigration Stories. With me this evening is a gentleman. Bamidele Salako is his name. Long-time media mogul, currently plying his trade in the city of Calgary, supporting immigrants, settling in and building a life here in the city. So tonight he will be telling us his own story as an immigrant, as well as sharing the experiences of other immigrants that he has supported through the process. So without taking any more of your time, I'd like you to welcome with me Bamidele Salako. Hi Bamidele, how are you doing?
Hi, Doctor. I'm doing very well. Thank you for inviting me onto this wonderful platform.
Oh, come on, it's great to have you here as a fellow storyteller. You know, sometimes it's good to have you yourself sitting in the guest seat, right? And I'm happy to get the opportunity to do that to you today.
I know, right? I'm not usually on this side of the table.
Tell us a bit about yourself, your background, everything pre-Canada that you're comfortable sharing, right?
So, before I moved to Canada, I worked as a journalist in Nigeria. I was deputy editor at Ovation Media Group. I was working on Ovation International magazine. That's most people know that Basharun Dele Momodu, and that was what I did basically before moving to Canada. In fact, moving to Canada was not really on my radar, I must say. So I'm going to put my wife on the spot. She was the one who began to engineer the move. I was one of those firm believers in the Nigerian dream, so I never thought about the need, to prospects of immigrating never appealed to me. I always believed that I would flourish in Nigeria, contribute in one way or the other to the growth of Nigeria, and reality for me began to dawn in 2015 because that was about the very first elections that I was actively involved in. I went for campaign rallies. I went for fundraisers for the current president and his vice. I mobilized. I contributed to initiatives to make sure that campaign was a successful one. I rallied friends and family, to vote for the current president. And so I was heavily invested, and my boss, I could say I was basically towing the path of my boss, and we were actually sold the dream. So there was belief, there was an expectation that this was, the president who would finally turn things around for Nigeria. And then after 6 months, the president was, leading the country through what at the time they referred to as body language. 6 months, 6 months into his presidency, he was yet to select a cabinet. At that point, it dawned on me that the solution to a problem can never come from the people who caused the problem. It dawned on me that, we're sold a pipe dream, basically. Because if someone had been looking for the presidency, I don't want to make this political, but it ties into my story of why I eventually decided to get aboard the immigration train. So if someone had tried several times and failed to secure the presidency and finally got it, you would have thought that all the many years before which he had tried, he would have had in place a plan, to make sure that once he got into office, he was going. If there was anyone who should hit the ground running after winning the presidency, he had to be the one, because he had tried several times before and failed. So at that point it just became clear to me that these guys were it was probably a retirement plan for him. He had fulfilled his aspiration and that was it. And I started to listen more to my wife. So it probably makes sense when they say, men, listen to your wife. So I don't know. So I started to listen to what my wife was saying, about exploring Canada. I just didn't feel like I wanted my children. At the time, we didn't have any kids. So I just didn't feel like I wanted my kids to grow up in the same Nigeria that I grew up in. And things had only gotten worse as I grew older. I'm almost 40, and ever since I was born, the same issues that we always talked about are the same issues we're still talking about almost 4 decades later. So I got aboard immediately, the immigration train. And a funny story, maybe some people can relate with this. We didn't know too much about the Canadian immigration process. And so we got in touch with a consultant. We were going to use a consultant. And then he told us that, it's no problem. We're going to pay him a certain amount of money. And he was just going to put our names in the pool. And then he was going to do something magical that will make our names go up in the pool, so that when they do draws, they're going to select us.
Really?
That was, it was, ridiculous. So, but being the kind of people we were, and being a journalist, we decided to research the process ourselves, before deciding to invest in the process. And so we saw that all the guy was saying was balderdash, and that it was in fact something we could do, ourselves. And so we really put in the work. We prepared for IELTS, we studied materials, we did the whole thing, the entire thing from start to finish by ourselves. My wife did more of the research. I chipped in here and there, and we're here today. It's been an amazing journey.
Day one in Canada, what was that like for you?
Oh my God, you're bringing back amazing memories. So we landed in Canada on April 17, which happens to be my birthday in 2018. Yeah, it was in the middle of winter, so we landed. It was not as much as cold.
April, come on, winter's gone.
Yeah, not exactly, because for us, now I can work outside shirtless in April. But for a lot of newcomers, even that weather that we consider as spring in late April, it feels like winter to them, because and so my friend who came to pick us at the airport, he was just wearing a t-shirt and a pair of pants. He wasn't even wearing a jacket, a cardigan, or anything. We were, hooded up. I think we're layered up. We're wearing multiple layers, and we were still cold. So he was like, "Don't worry, you guys will get used to this soon." So Yeah, so it was kind of cold for us. But I backtrack a little. A funny event happened in the airplane when we landed. We landed in Toronto. Uh, yes, we there was a layover in Of course, we landed in Toronto. There was a layover. Went through border services. On the plane, the moment the plane landed, my wife and I, we jumped up. You know what we do in Nigeria when you fly? You jump up. You want to be the first to get out of the plane.
Get out.
Exactly. So my wife, the moment the plane landed, and came to a halt, my wife and I, we jumped up. We're going to get our luggage from the overhead compartment, and the people around us were just looking at us in a very strange manner, like, "What's going on with these people?" Like, so when we looked around, thankfully, our self-awareness quotient, was in high alert. Yes, it was in high alert. So we looked around and we saw that there was nobody else who had jumped up to, fetch their luggage and trying to get off the plane. And so we quickly, spoke to ourselves as babe, let's sit. I think we messed up here. Exactly. I think we just embarrassed ourselves here. So this is not Nigeria. So that hustle, rush mentality was still in us, when we landed. Exactly. So that was the first lesson that we got, basically, the first culture shock that, oh my God, this is not Nigeria. Like, it is way different here. Nobody's rushing to get off the plane. Everything is done decently and in order. This is the norm. So it was a whole new experience, for us. Then going through border services, the most pleasant people, welcoming of us as permanent residents. And it kind of felt, I don't know, people who were, I think, just visiting on a tourist visa, they went the other way. Then you, as a permanent resident, you were getting this royal treatment. It felt special, I must say.
They took you to that room and collected your, is it COPR is called, right?
Your confirmation of permanent residence. It really did feel special, and eventually we missed our flight, but they were pleasant. They said, not to worry, we're going to get you on another flight. And they did. In fact, I lost my luggage. I experienced everything Nigeria is not. Not that I'm trying to drag my country through the mud, but I experienced everything Nigeria is not within the space of a day of landing in Canada. I lost my luggage. The airline lost my luggage. And so I think they left it in Toronto. So we got to Calgary, we couldn't find it. We went to the Air Canada terminus. We made a complaint, and they said, "Oh, you're gonna get it by this time tomorrow, most likely." I was like, "Really?" That was a shocker to me. Okay, we went to our Airbnb, and then the next day we got a knock on the door, and my luggage was right there. There was nothing missing. Everything was intact. I mean, I'm like, this level of efficiency is incredible, So it was a pleasant entry that we had into Canada. And then in terms of settling, it helped that we had a friend here who had been here a few months before us. And so he was the one who helped with securing our first apartment. So we didn't have a hassle there. Then we leveraged the services of immigrant serving organizations in Calgary, one of which I now work with. And it was really helpful because it made our settling into the city a little bit easier than it would have been if we were trying to go it all alone without little support from anywhere. We booked an Airbnb for 2 weeks. This was pre-pandemic. It feels like a whole different world that we landed in, So we had all the support we could need. We visited each and every, immigrant serving organization. We were in an Airbnb for 2 weeks. Within a week, we secured an apartment. And then by the time we were moving in, we had everything that we could need in the apartment given to us for free through the agency of these immigrant serving organizations. They gave us referrals to get furniture, different household items. So everything you could possibly, pots, pans, spoons, ironing boards, sofa, we had mattresses, we had a bed frame, fans, everything. So by the time we moved into our apartment, in fact, when a couple of friends visited us, they were like, "Have you been living here for 5 years or something?" Because the whole apartment was set. Yeah, it was set up. Everything was in place, basically. So it made it easy for us to feel like we were home, and we just could then focus on the next phase, which for every immigrant is always the most important, the job search.
Yeah.
And so that was the next stage for us, and that's an entirely different story.
So let's fast forward now. Post day one till today. This is like roughly three plus years now.
Yes, just over
About
3 years.
about
Yeah.
3 years, give or take. How's that journey been for you?
For me, honestly, it's been an amazing experience. I always say that it's come with its own challenges, yes, but it's been an amazing experience for my wife and me. It helped that one of the things I did, when we were moving, I knew that moving to a new country is it's a different ball game entirely. It demands a lot of you as an individual. Today I work with immigrants like me, and so I can relate to some of the challenges they encounter when they first land, or even before they land, the anxieties. There's excitement, because you're moving to one of the countries considered the best to live in the world, and you have all of this anticipation, this expectation of great things for your career, for your family. But then there's also anxiety of what the future holds, because now you're giving up your comfort. You're coming from a country, exactly. You're coming from a country where you've attained the peak. For most of us, you've attained the peak of your career. There's a certain level of comfort that you've attained. You have a very robust social and professional network. You have the support of family and friends. Now you're giving all of that up. For most of us who do not have family here, coming to a place where you have to basically start from scratch. You're like a newborn baby who has to learn to walk, learn to eat, learn to relate, learn to communicate, because it's a different culture, different expectations, different nuances, different ways of doing things. And so it's a different experience, altogether. And so I can relate to that when I talk to immigrants. And it was the same for us. We had to unlearn. Like I said, the first lesson was in that, airline, where we saw that there was no rush. People here are gentle, they are easygoing, they follow the rules. And so that's what you had to do as well. And, I decided when we were moving that I was going to surround myself with positive people, because I knew this was going to be challenging, right? Because you don't have friends or family here. Well, we had a few friends, but no family. So we said, we were going to surround ourselves with positive people who would affirm us, who would encourage us, because I knew that there would be people who had it not as good as most, and would, want to call to question your decision to up and leave, Nigeria to move to Canada and basically start life from scratch. And so that was what we did. We surrounded ourselves with friends, who themselves, some of them had come before us, who themselves had become established somewhat, they were advancing in their careers. Those who had not gotten jobs were very positive and optimistic, that something good would happen for them career-wise. And that helped us, mentally. It helped us significantly. I tell you, the role our friends played in our lives is not small. They were very helpful, very supportive. Just the encouragement, that even if for my wife and I, we did, minimum wage clerical jobs for about the first 2 months, and it was challenging because this was something you would never do in your own country. This was something you had never done prior. And sometimes you may want to get into a mindset of, going through a demeaning phase, like this is demeaning, this is not me, and then you would always have people, exactly, you would always have people, who say to you that, can you imagine, you left your role as a deputy editor of Ovation, where you were traveling around doing all this, meeting with very important people in Nigeria and across Africa, and to come and do this, in Canada. But for my wife and I, we knew that this was a phase, right? Not everyone goes through this phase, but a lot of people do, because getting a job in Canada is a full-time job, like, we often say in the immigrant service sector. It's a full-time job in itself. It can be a challenging experience. It can take as long as 6 months for some. It can take as long as 1 year, especially, if you're insisting on working in your pre-immigration career in the same field in which you worked before you came. You may not easily find a role that is commensurate to the position you give up to move to Canada. Immediately you land, so you might need to take a step back. Some people do. So the experience differs from person to person. There is no standard. You just have to do what works for you. If you set an expectation for yourself, you want to work hard towards actualizing that expectation, but you also want to make room for compromises here and there. For example, I have a friend, when he came, he had worked with a bank in Nigeria for 12 years. He was, a manager before he came here. And when he got here, he started to apply for manager roles. He wasn't ready to take a step back or anything. He applied for manager roles. And he got an interview with one of the biggest banks in Canada for that manager role. And after the interview, the recruiter was kind enough to let him know that, oh, you were the best candidate for this role, but your lack of Canadian experience, you have limited understanding of the Canadian market. So your lack of experience is the only the thing disqualifying you. So we cannot give you the job. We will need to promote someone internally to occupy that position. Would you be willing to occupy that position that that individual will be vacating, to occupy this one you applied for? And he was like, yes, no problem. I will take that job. And he did. Trust me, within months, he was occupying the manager role that he initially applied for. Because if you have the stuff, you have it. And Nigerians are brilliant people. So I always tell people, a lizard in Nigeria will not become an alligator in Canada simply because it changed locations. So so if you were an alligator in Nigeria, you will not become a lizard in Canada. The same tenacity, the same dedication, the same commitment, the same standards that you held yourself up to, that saw you succeed in Nigeria, they will shine through here. And in fact, more easily shine through here. Because if you're lucky to be working in a team or an organization that recognizes effort, that celebrates, acknowledges effort, which for me a lot of Canadians do, because I've done things here. I told you I was working in media, so I wrote, and so when I got here, started working with an immigrant serving organization, CCIS, the biggest in Alberta. They saw that I was also a writer back home, so they started to. That wasn't my primary role, but they co-opted me into writing grants, writing reports for funders, writing. So I'm like, there were things I wrote that were like, they were bread and butter for me. And my manager was, oh my God, have you seen what Daily wrote? Have you seen the amazing job? I'm like, this is this is the least of what I'm able to do, but the kind of recognition and acknowledgement I got for just doing that little thing, it was amazing for me, so that's what a lot of us will experience here. Nigerians, we are brilliant people, we are blessed people, we are talented people, we are hardworking people. So it doesn't take long for you to shine through. So you come here with your lofty expectations. Please give it all it takes. You can achieve anything you set your mind to. I tell people that in Canada, the ceiling is the one you place on yourself. There's no limit really to what you can achieve. There's no ceiling basically to what you can achieve. The only limit to what you can achieve is your mind, is in your mind. So I tell people that your greatest asset when you're moving to Canada is not your academic qualification, as important as that is, It's not your years of professional experience, as important as those are. It is your mindset, because I've written stories, I've heard stories, I've talked to people, I've witnessed stories myself, of people who move here. Perhaps they were not fully convinced, about moving to Canada. They were prodded by their wives to make the move. They were prodded by their husbands to make the move. And so they were not fully committed to the experience. Their bodies were here in Canada, but their minds were in what they left. Yeah, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in India, in Pakistan. So their minds are still back home, but their bodies are here. So they're not fully committed. And once that happens, you cannot give it your full commitment, your energy, your resources. You can't do all it will take to see you succeed here. And that process can be challenging. For many people, it's not always a stroll in the park. It may mean you even change careers. It may mean you switch careers. And so that process is not always palatable. But if you give it what it takes, trust me, there is no ceiling to what you can achieve. I tell another story. I like to use the stories of people, because people that can then understand that it has happened to others before. And if they were able to navigate those hurdles, why won't I be able to do the same? There was a lady who was working in oil and gas and then moved to Alberta, which is the oil and gas capital of Canada. And so she tried to find a job, but no, oil and gas was going through a tailspin and prices had dropped. The market was, up and down. There were no jobs. A lot of oil and gas companies were laying off. And so she couldn't really secure a job after about 5 months of being here in Alberta. And she started to pivot. I've seen other people who became frustrated, they became angry, they slipped into negativity, and every time you talk to them, they are just angry about life in Canada. Oh, why did I come here? Oh, this country is a mess. So they just slip into negativity. And once that happens, it's always very difficult to recover. It's always very difficult to recover. But this lady, she had a very positive mindset. She pivoted. The next thing she did was she took up a course, a free course. Like I said before, there are immigrant serving organizations here that provide bridging programs, free courses for immigrants. So you can do career transitions easily at no cost to you. So there was such a course, a Women in Technology training program here in Calgary. And she signed up for the program. And she transitioned to IT. The program comes with work placement experience. So immediately she was done in class, they sent her to industry to gain practical experience. And after her work placement for about, I think, a month or so, she was retained by the company, and now she's in a high-paying IT role. And this was somebody who was an oil and gas petroleum engineer. And she pivoted to IT. And now she's been working in IT for, I think, for about 2+ years, now. So mindset is very huge. I remember another story I heard of a guy who was also in oil and gas, because a lot of oil and gas people come here to Alberta. And,
capital of oil and gas in Canada.
yeah, exactly. So you may find me, talking about oil and gas a lot. So he came here and he couldn't get a job as well in oil and gas. It's very challenging to do. People do get jobs there, but it can be a challenging experience. So he couldn't. So immediately, after a while, no matter how much you bring, because some people come with a lot of money when they're coming, but you quickly find out that cost of living here is no joking thing. You quickly find out. So by the time you pay rent, pay childcare expenses, which is like paying rent, a second rent, and then depending on the number of children you have, and all of that, you pay your bills, your auto insurance, you quickly find out that the bills can quickly stack up. So at a point, he just felt like, man, I have to get something doing. So he signed up for a security training course and he became a screening officer at the airport. These guys who screen your luggage at the airport. Yeah. So he was doing that for a bit. But the good thing was he had his mind. That's why I say mindset is your biggest asset. He had his mind in the right place. So while he was working towards he kept applying for jobs, going for mentorship events, networking events. He was doing that on the side. And so he was educating himself on the industry, acquainting himself with the names, the big players in the industry in Canada. and in Alberta. And so on one of those days, while he was screening, the CEO of one of the biggest oil and gas companies in Canada walks in. So he was going to screen the man's luggage. So he told the man, "I know you very well." The man was like, "How do you know me?" And Canadians can be very pleasant. And they got talking. I told, I used to work, I worked in oil and gas before I moved to Canada recently. I'm only doing this temporarily until I'm able to get a job. It was an opportunity for him to quickly pitch to this individual. And the man was like, "Wow, that's an interesting story you've got there." And the man said, "Okay, here's my card, send me an email. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Send me an email." And he did. Trust me, that was how he got his first oil and gas job in Canada. So good thing was he had his mind in his right place when the opportunity presented itself in the unlikeliest of places. He was doing a survival job, what we call a survival job. And, that was where the opportunity presented itself. And he took a hold of it. That's just life in Canada for you. Your mindset is your biggest asset. Don't forget, that's the biggest lesson I leave with everyone I talk to. It can be a challenge. In spite of all the excitement we all have when we first get that golden email that, you've been approved, sending your passport, for your visas. Yeah, exactly. So when, apart from all of that excitement, you have to also recognize that moving to a new country, not just Canada, is a challenging experience. It will be tasking. It will demand of you your full mental capacity, your emotions. You will need all the help you can get after you land. So you want to surround yourself with positive people who will keep affirming you, motivating you, and then you want to make sure that your mind is always in the right place. One last story, and this was the first story I heard when I came to Canada. So this is not just a story. This was a friend. We went to school together in Nigeria. So he had moved to Canada about 2 years before we did. And he landed in Calgary though, but he later relocated because of work. He got a very good job in Saskatchewan. So he then relocated to Saskatchewan. And so when we came, on the very day we came, I think the next day, he called me from Saskatchewan and he was trying to encourage me because he had been through that process. So he was telling me the story of his uncle who housed him when he landed in Calgary. So he was saying that his uncle was a big boy in oil and gas, I think, in Nigeria, a project manager, doing so well. And then this was even way before Express Entry. And then he decided to move to Canada with his family. Many of his friends had moved to Canada in oil and gas. They had moved to Canada. They were earning big bucks. This was when Alberta, it was the golden age for Alberta. It was a time when I remember taking an Uber, I think in 2020 or 2019, and the taxi driver was, "Oh my God, I wish you had come to Alberta like 6, 7, 8 years ago. People were picking money on the streets." That was basically, the metaphor he used. Yeah, that there were jobs everywhere. People were getting paid ridiculous sums of money for doing some crazy jobs, So he was like, so his friends encouraged, like, "Guy, come to Canada. There's so much money in this place. You won't believe it." So he moved. But unfortunately for him, in spite of the fact that there was a boom, he couldn't get a job. He just could not get a job. And so he was burning through his funds very quickly. And, he felt like he had to do something, and so he took a job with McDonald's. Got a job with McDonald's and was working this was a big boy in oil and gas in Nigeria, and then he had to work in oil and gas. So you can imagine how demeaning that can be for you. If it's not something you've done before, it's a demeaning. It feels demeaning that from where I was a big boy. I had drivers, I had housemates, I had a big house, I had some of the best automobiles. Everything was going, and I'm here, doing this. So he was doing that, but he said his uncle never regretted the move, not once. He was motivated. He kept applying for jobs. He kept networking. He kept doing the things he needed to do, but he was doing that, every day. Until one day, he gets an interview request from, I think, the city of Edmonton, he said. And he got a project manager job handling multi-million-dollar projects, for the city of Edmonton from McDonald's. So that's why I say that even if you find yourself having to do some of these things, you just have to keep your mind in the right place. Don't let it affect you. Don't let it mess with your mind. Keep yourself motivated. It's just a matter of time. Understand that it's a phase, and before you know what's happening, you will see your dreams coming true.
Wow. You know, you've said a lot, and I'm going to just highlight the key things that I can hear in all of this. Number one, you've talked about the fact that there is work to be done. So get ready to work. That's number one. Then
Absolutely.
number two, you've talked about a network. Now, the network being the people that you will reach out to when it's time to talk about career and all that stuff. But you've also talked about the community, which is your social circle that helps you to protect your mind. When Canada wants to do a number on you, they're the ones that are going to continue to pump you up, continue to tell you that don't worry, I've been there, don't worry. Oh, yeah, you got another injection today, right? Yes, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Relax, it's gonna come, right? Then you've also talked about the fact that your mind is your singular most important asset, and to protect yourself, protect your mentality, protect your mindset, protect your positivity, because as long as you have that, you're fine. The moment you lose that, then you are adrift, right?
Absolutely.
Those are the things that I can hear you saying. So I'm gonna take that and say to anybody who's watching this and you are in the process and you can't make up your mind which way to go, or you are here already and it feels like, you know, everything is conniving against you to make you ask yourself, should you not be buying, should you not be bringing out that return ticket, right? What we are saying to you tonight is that there's a process and there's a phase. So protect your mind, protect your positivity, be willing to put in the work, because the work always pays. And then connect with people, connect with your community socially, connect with the community professionally, build a network, use the tools you have. LinkedIn is a fantastic tool.
Yep.
Canadians, well, now that we have everything is virtual, I don't know how that happens, but Canadians used to love coffee meetings. So it wasn't unusual to walk into a Starbucks and find two absolute strangers talking about careers that they share. That's the way it works here. Now that everything is virtual, maybe you may be lucky and find somebody who will take a meeting from an absolute stranger on LinkedIn. Probably. But that's just a culture professionally. So, your perspective, if I may, assuming that I'm that new guy who's trying to make up his mind, or I just got my golden email, what would you be telling me to do?
So the first thing that I'm going to tell that individual to do is to begin to prepare for the journey. Now, even if you're not, landing in Canada any soon, say the expiry date for your confirmation of permanent residence isn't until sometime next year, you cannot start too early to prepare, because the quality of preparation before you land can make a huge difference. It can make or mar your settlement and integration experience after you land. So a lot of people, because they do not have access to quality information, quality resources before they land, a lot of the things they experience after they land seems to be like a root shock. They get a root shock because they have these innocent expectations of how life would be in Canada once I land with the qualifications I have, these credentials, this experience. Employers are going to be rolling over themselves, to offer me jobs.
To hire you.
Some do not even... Yeah, were you going to say something?
Oh, God. They said they were going to be rolling over themselves to hire
Yeah, exactly, to hire you. Some do not even know that there is a Canadian style to writing resumes. So for us in Nigeria, the longer your resume, we always feel like, the higher the chance that you're going to be considered for the job. So some of us come to job interviews with 14 page, or we apply for jobs with 14-page resumes, detailing 20 years or 10 years or 12, 15 years of experience. Yeah. Cognate. So it doesn't work like that in Canada. There's a Canadian style, to writing resumes, just 2 pages long. You have to be concise, and then without losing the essential details that you need to communicate to sell yourself effectively to the hiring manager or to the recruiter. And so there's a lot you need to know. That's the fact. Forget hearsay. There's a lot of information online. You could want to research yourself, but you're going to be overwhelmed. Some of the information is outdated. So you need the support of pre-arrival services. We have Canada. I tell people, like, Canada is probably the best first world country in the world at providing support and resources to immigrants to make sure that your transition to Canada is as seamless as possible. I don't think any other country in the world does what Canada does in that regard. Canada actually plans and budgets, for immigrants. And so a lot of organizations like mine, provide different programs and services that are designed specifically for immigrant professionals. And so those services are preparatory. You get to take courses around job search strategies. You learn how to network, how to maximize LinkedIn for your professional networking. You're provided with a list of job sites. You learn how to interview. Most of us tend to focus on just our technical skills. Oh, I'm good at what I do, and that's all that counts. That may have worked where you're coming from, but it won't work in here. You have to be good at what you do in Canada. Yes, that's very important. That's basic. But you also have to have soft skills, good behavioral skills. You have to be able to handle feedback. You should be able to get along with others. You want to be able to manage conflict situations, get along with people who are different from you. In Canada, there's a lot of respect given to members of the LGBTQ community. So if your religion or your culture, for example, does not accommodate, gay rights, then you have to adjust and be respectful of that, because in the workplace, you will be working with people who are different from you. So you cannot force your religion or your culture down the throats of people in the workplace. You have to learn to work with difference. So there's a lot that you'll be able to learn working with pre-arrival services. They will help you with managing your expectations, because they're going to paint a true portrait of the reality of life for immigrant professionals in Canada. So they will help you with setting, realistic expectations for yourself. And there's a whole lot going there that you will get referrals to post-arrival services like I had access to when we landed. So we got furniture, we got things basically for free. By the time we were settling in, we did not spend a dime. The only money we spent when we moved to our apartment was on groceries. So you get those kinds of referrals to organizations in your city that will support your relocation to Canada. So SOPA, which is the program I work on at my organization, is called the Settlement Online Pre-Arrival program. It's perhaps the biggest pre-arrival service in Canada. So SOPA is one. There's Access, Canada. There are quite a number. There's Planning for Canada, then there's occupation-specific programs, pre-arrival programs like ICTC. I think that's the Information Communication Technology Council for IT professionals. There's PASS, PASS, for nurses, for foreign trained nurses, and many more. So when you sign up with some of these organizations like mine, you get the directions you need. They point you in the right directions. We assess your needs. We talk to you. We send you a number of questions. We try to assess what your needs, even needs you don't know you have. Based on our conversations and interactions with you, we draw your attention to them, and we provide you with the accurate, up-to-date information and resources that will address those needs. And we'll make we won't take away all your problems, because there will be challenges. There will be hurdles. to integration. There will be barriers to integration when you land, but we will make the experience, you know, a little less burdensome for you, because you will have all the support, all the help you need, you know, to settle in successfully in Canada. So just get preparing using pre-arrival services, and they are free. They are free. You're not spending a dime of your money. They are free. So take advantage. All your spending will be your time, and I think that's an investment. A lot of people work, they keep working on their current jobs until a day before they are going to travel. I don't advise it, trust me. I know you want to make this money and come with enough, you know, savings, you know, to carry you through those first few months when you might not be working. But the preparation you put in is also just as important, if not more important, because now you're living that life to start a new one. So I think the new life that you're about to start is more important than the one you're leaving behind.
Wow. Okay. So we are going to get a list of all those programs so that we're going to talk that into the description section of this video.
Okay.
That
No
sounds
problem.
like very, very valuable information that people will find useful. I know we have a number of articles on our website that we've written about settlement organizations in different provinces. Manitoba, I think we have one on Alberta as well. Manitoba, Ontario, Saskatchewan, right?
All across Canada. Quite a number.
But I will actually like to get the list of the programs that are in your organization so that we can share with our viewers, and, you know, they can just take a look at it and probably reach out to you.
I mean, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll provide my LinkedIn profile on the link to my profile, LinkedIn profile, on the description for the video. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be glad to assist any way I can.
Fantastic. Wow. This I like the last part of our conversation has been so informative for me, because I did not use any pre-arrival services. In fact, I did not use pre-arrival, I did not use post-arrival, I did not use settlement. I bought my ticket, got on a plane, slept in my friend's house for 2 weeks, rented an apartment, moved in, empty, and then bought everything to fill it up. So
Everything, I can imagine.
I'm only imagining what you went through, and it just amazes me, because I know how much it set me back financially.
Exactly.
So that's thank you for sharing that information, and I find that very, very
Welcome.
So with this, I want to first say thank you for doing this. And thank you for not just telling your own story, but telling the story of other immigrants, as well as sharing with us how immigrants can benefit from the services that you provide on a daily basis. So I really appreciate you for that, and I want to say thank you.